Hello, everyone. I'm here with the legendary ex-Premier League keeper from the glory years of the 90s, Hans Segers. Hans, welcome to CAS TV.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick. Good evening, everybody.
Tell me this. So when you look at goalkeepers as a whole, how do you think from when you were a goalkeeper, where do you think goalkeeping's heading, for example, the next 5 years? Obviously, with COVID and things like that, young players might feel they got more of a chance because the market is changing because of COVID-19 and what's actually happening there. Where do you think goalkeeping is heading? What qualities do you think clubs are demanding more and more? Obviously, you're now with Ada Den Haag. Obviously, you've now moved in. You're going to be the goalkeeping coach for the first team. What are you looking for if a top goalkeeper is going to come and play in Europe from another country where it's maybe the development isn't as good?
What they obviously know this as well. The first thing what clubs are doing these days, they're looking at stats. So with all the information people have all over the world, you log in this program, and you got all the stats coming from each player, each game they played, each goalkeeper, how many saves. You just have to click the button, and it comes out, Nick. So what I find now, if you were talking to clubs and to goalkeepers, and when you go to a club and they say, "Now I've got a goalkeeper here for you, what I think is a good goalkeeper," so they look at the stats and they say, "Oh, it's pushed, not high enough." So without even looking at the goalkeeper or even his name, the first thing when they say, "What's his stats?" Yeah, and I think that's a bit unfair. Because I'm looking at a goalkeeper, I'm looking how he is as a person, his personality, how does he stand in the goal. Potential is the key for me.
Right.
Is something in him what I can bring out and can bring him to the whatever League 2, 1 or Championship or Premier League, or in Holland in the Eredivisie or in the second division. So I'm looking at goalkeepers to have something special. That's what I'm looking at.
When you look then at a goalkeeper, Hans, and you see the goalkeepers, obviously you were replacing somebody like Dave Besant, right? Dave Besant being a technically good keeper. And you're looking at your own goal, because you're probably thinking about who you are as a goalkeeper and your philosophy, and always evaluating your philosophy and how you're going to improve as a goalkeeper. What was your mentality on you and how you were going to evolve from coming into a club? Obviously, you've been to 3 clubs on loan, to going to a club like Wimbledon, which I think we later found out they went up to 6th position in the Premier League. So that's a really tall order. So what would you say is from then to now, based upon your experience, what would you say your goalkeeping philosophy would be?
At Wimbledon, I was a goalkeeper who had to play in front of his goal. So because our defense was literally defending the halfway line. So for me, I was playing like a sweeper. So the key factor for a Wimbledon keeper, to play as a sweeper. And obvious what I said earlier, he needed to kick a very good ball, because he started everywhere. Sometimes I was even on the halfway line, Nick, to take the free kicks to our centre forwards. So that was the key things for a Wimbledon goalkeeper. He needed to kick a brilliant ball, and he needed to play as a sweeper to behind the back 4. And really, sometimes 20, 25 yards outside his goal. So, and at that time in the late 80s and 90s, that was quite a big thing.
Right. And because the time when you were obviously there, because obviously you were there from 88 to 96. So if you're looking at from 88 to 96, that was Wimbledon were a very good team. They were a team that would cause teams a lot of problems. Obviously, they had a lot of high profile games. Obviously, but if you're looking at what you did there with Wimbledon, and it was would you say you felt settled there once you went in there and you kind of knew what you were about as a goalkeeper? Because you're probably 7, 8 years in to your professional career?
yeah, Wimbledon was such a big part of my life because,
Mm.
obvious, you settled there, you were the first team goalkeeper there. Every day for myself, my mindset that I wanted to improve every day. Don't want to be one day wasted when I go to training. Even if I was the number one, I still wanted to improve myself day in, day out. Because I know there was one player, and I'm not sure if you know this guy. You might heard of him,
Oh, no.
Willy van der Kerkhoff.
Okay,
He,
rings a
he
bell.
was
Yeah.
playing. Yeah, he's one of the twins who played in the 74 and 78 World Cup for Holland.
Okay.
So he was at PSV, and he said to me one day when I was sitting in the car with him and we went to the stadium, he said, "Hans, remember this. Today you win the Champions League and tomorrow you are on the street." And I thought by myself, this is a challenge. So today you win the Champions League, but tomorrow they sack you. So
Right.
for me, the bells went ringing from, hey, that means even you won the Champions League, you still have to be better and better and getting better because there's always somebody else who wants to take your place.
Yeah.
So that was my attitude. Even I was the first team goalkeeper at Wimbledon, but I know behind me were goalkeepers who would love to take my place, and I just kept the door shut because I wanted to improve, and that's what I did.
And so when you're saying that, and would you say that the managers you had, as great as Brian Clough was, and things like that, would you say it's important though that there is a manager that really believes in you, that really is like, you're my guy? You know what I mean? And what would you say it was that cost you your place when you were at Nottingham Forest? What would you say that it was where it maybe didn't click, or what do you think it was?
If you look back and be honest, I was too inexperienced. I came to England as well. I had high hopes, wanted to do well, and I put so much pressure on myself. And really, I should have, what I said to you earlier, I would have, be patient. Your time will come. But I wanted to things, too quickly. So I came in a disappointment. The training sessions, I thought they were not brilliant. I was supposed to have a goalkeeper coach, but really I didn't have it. Right. So we really worked together a lot of times with a few youngsters from the academy at Nottingham Forest. So that was not good. So right. And lucky enough, when I went to Wimbledon, I had a goalkeeper coach who worked with the English FA, Alex Wells, and I thought Alex was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So
and coming from a Dutch player, like, because you're coming from Holland, you know what I mean? It is about technical excellence. It is about the coaching. It's about the development, isn't it? You're coming from a culture of development.
That's what I mean. What I said earlier in the interview as well. I was training sometimes, 3 times a day. Just try to improve, repetition. And if you went to Clough and asked for a training session in the afternoon, then he said, "No way." I don't know if you know the story. Justin Fashanu. I don't know. Do you know the story?
Justin, yeah, because he played under Brian Clough at Nottingham Forest. Yep.
He was the first million. Yeah.
He bullied him apparently.
He bullied them, and players were telling me this story that one afternoon he went up to Clough. He said, "Boss, I want to do some extra training. I want to get a bag of balls and hit some balls." And Clough said to him, "Justin, if you go to the pitch, I get you arrested." And Justin went away, took the bag of balls, went to the training ground. 20 minutes later, a police car turned up, and he carried him away in the car and went to the police station. that was Cloughy.
That's funny, man. That's great. Yeah, you can't beat that. Well, your own manager gets you arrested.
You get you arrested. So when you look now, you encourage people to get out and do some extra training and hit balls
Yeah.
or catch balls, and but that time, if you did that, you got arrested. So
Right, no way. That's good. So,
yeah.
whenever that happened, so it was very much like he ran it like a military unit, like it was a military camp. Cloughy.
Yeah, Cloughy, he decided everything, to the washing lady, to the chairman. He was the boss. When he said that's going to be done. So when Cloughy said you're not training, then you wouldn't train. You wouldn't even dare to train. But Justin
Right,
did,
okay.
and he got arrested. So that was.
You thought, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I think I'll
That was
avoid it.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Cloughy, how did you find him then as a person? How did you find him just as a person in terms of the player-manager relationship?
Nick, I absolutely love the man. He was unbelievable. He had these things like, you won a game on a Saturday, and then he would say after the game, "Boys, see you on Wednesday," and things like that. So he had the players in his palm. He knew exactly how to motivate. I can remember also one day, we came and we had a lot of injuries, and then Cloughy came through the corridor, went to the medical room, got the key, locked the medical room. Said to the physio, I think it's Graham was his name. Said, "Graham, I'll see you on Friday. You're not coming in the whole week. Players, let them, do their own." So the treatment room was shut for a week. So the physio went for a week on holiday, and and the players just stood there. So they couldn't get any tape, couldn't get massage, nothing.
Wow.
That was his way to motivate and get the team back on the wheels again.
Right, okay. And so whenever you looked at all of that, and you moved on from Forest, what would you say, what you learned in that period was you learned a lot about yourself, kind of your first kind of spell, just the lack of experience, kind of coming through, and then going to obviously, like I say, 3 other clubs, you know what I mean? Between the Midlands, people would have thought you're taking a tour of England. doing Nottingham, then you're doing Shepherd, you think, oh no, it's not far enough, I can go north, let me go to Scotland, you know what I mean?
But I'm Nick, I must admit, when I was at Stoke, at Sheffield, and even at Dunfermline and Edinburgh, I think the people are amazing. The culture, the football culture in England is unbelievable. The passion, the people, they live and eat football. If you go to Holland and it's raining, they say, "No, don't venture today. I'm not going." But you can't say that in England. They just they save money all week to go to a match on a Saturday, and that's the difference. And that's what I love about England and Scotland. The people, the passion about the football. Or in total at 27 years, and it's the best time of my life. Great time.
And so, I mean, Wimbledon. When you looked at like going to Wimbledon, so Bobby Gould, when you look at him, as a manager and stuff compared to Brian Clough, what was the management and what he expected of you? And so when you went there, did you feel like mentally prepared to be the number one?
I thought I was mentally prepared, Nick. When I from Nottingham for 4 years in England, I've done the other teams, so I was ready to come to Wimbledon, and then I came in for a shock, because Wimbledon was a team I never seen anything beforehand. Obviously played against them, but amongst them, the players itself, because there were big personalities in that team. Right. Massive. Your John Fashionus, your Vinnie Jones, you had your Keith Curl. They were big personalities, and they take no shit. And even in training, in a normal training, games were finished up in fights because because people were not doing their job. So it was really, when I came to that club, I thought, this is unbelievable. Every day they expect you to be 100%. Not 90, 95, 100. And so there was an eye opener. Let's make it that way, Nick. A big eye opener.
Would you say, because Nottingham Forest is known as he played such a good brand of football, Brian Clough, but you're going there and it's like the will to win, really. Would you say the culture at Wimbledon was a winning culture?
Yes, massive, absolute massive. Anything it takes to get the 3 points at home. Ugly, and most of the time, I must say, it was ugly, but we didn't care. It just, the 3 points was the key of everything. Me and Keith sometimes we had a joke. We came, we scored, we went. So that's
we came, we scored, we went.
Well, we went.
That's funny, man. I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
that's a good. Carry on there. So obviously, when you were at Wimbledon, so you were there at the beginning when the Premier League came in 1992, when it literally became what people know today. What was the transition from Division 1 to the Premier League, and what things did you see between 1988 and 1996? What sort of changes did you see in the Premier League? Because now you've got real experience. You got like almost 8 years experience.
Yeah, what I saw is that obviously the Premier League took to another level. Now because English football was very popular in Holland, but now through through Sky and the new launch of the Premier League, it was massive. Countries where you not even heard of, they wanted the English football on their TVs. So, and you saw through the Sky that that everything, even financial, that everybody was a lot better off than all these years before. That was plus also meant that the clubs had more money to spend, so they got more players in from abroad, international players. So the level of the Premier League was getting better and better and better.
When you saw that, and if you're looking from like a goalkeeper's perspective, and a young goalkeeper coming through, what did you think of the current crop of goalkeepers that England had, just in the country as a whole? Because literally, when a league is bringing in loads of foreigners, what do you think? What do you think it's done good to the Premier League? Like if you look at a young goalkeeper now, and how difficult it really is to come to play in the Premier League or come to play in England, what do you think needs to be the attitude of a young goalkeeper if he's going to make it in England in 2020? What do you think needs to be their attitude?
This is a tricky one, Nick, because I always say if you don't make it in England, there's so many countries as well. They need good goalkeepers. Be open, because you got a short time. It's a short career. As a goalkeeper, you can have a bit longer, but be open if you manage to be a second or third goalkeeper at a club. But if you go to Holland or to Belgium, or you could be a first team goalkeeper there, I would say do it.
Yeah,
because all the goalkeepers who are playing in the Premier League, they are top of the bunch. They all international goalkeepers. And as a youngster, if you look towards it, then you say, you got no chance. You got no chance. And so you have to, I think, be open, work hard on the game, and if the opportunities arises, go to another country and make a living over there. That would be my advice.
Yeah, because one of the things that, and I think where football is changing, especially for younger players, and I would always say, I think in Holland, I think what a goalkeeper learns in a country like Holland, even in Germany, I think they're the two best countries to come and play. You know what I mean? If they come into Europe, and I think you're seeing that a lot more now, though. A lot more players, they're not looking at staying in England now because I suppose when people look at England, they look at the king. You know what I mean? Because it's because what they see on TV, you know what I mean? Or,
Yeah.
you know, a kid thinks that, but I mean, I seen a kid and he went to Genk, but he had a chance to come to England, but they said to him, well, I think it was West Ham, and they said, yeah, you know what, mate, you know what I mean? We don't think you're quite ready for us. But he didn't get down in the dumps, and he went, I think he's ended up signing for Lazio in the end, you know? So, do you see what I mean? And so now he's obviously, and I think he plays for Kosovo, he's in the national team there with Kosovo.
Okay,
so, you know what I mean? And I kind of am quite shocked to see that certain kids, they don't want to come to Europe, even kids from Northern Ireland. You know, I speak to Roy Carroll. Often he's got a goalkeeping school there, and he says, Nick, the kids just don't, they just think England's their only choice. And they're not willing to even consider it. And I don't get that. I really don't get that. You know what I mean? Do you think that's changing though? A lot more kids from places like America where they can't come and play in England right away because of visa restrictions. Would you say a lot more? But obviously in Holland there's a pay. You have to be paid. I think it's €274,000 to come and play there. So if you're a goalkeeper, it's going to be difficult to come in and play in Holland.
Yeah, if you're outside the EU, then you got a problem to come to Holland. But you know, anything for England or Scotland or Ireland, you know, if you come to Holland, you know, the door is wide open. If you're good enough, then you know, that'd be a pleasure to come and play here. And the level in Holland is very good. It's very good.
It's very high.
Yeah, very high.
Very, very
so
high,
yeah, but you know, it's no Premier League. But if you can play here and in the Premier League in Holland, yeah, then you done very well. Let's make it that way.
So when you kind of look at, if you look at like a lot of the goalkeepers now, what would you say the goalkeepers that are in Dutch football right now? What do you think of the current crop that you're seeing within the Eredivisie as a whole, from kind of the bottom, kind of to the top, all the way to Ajax, in terms of Holland's goalkeeping future? What is it looking like?
Nick, I have to disappoint you there, because I think the level on the moment in Holland is not very good. Because your best goalkeeper in Holland on the moment is at Ajax. That's Onana.
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah, he's very good, but he's from he's not Dutch, so he's Cameroon. So PSV has been struggling with goalkeepers this season, and one or two goalkeepers they played this season. A German goalkeeper and Jeroen Zoet. And Jeroen Zoet was also with the national team, so he's not playing. He's not involved with the national team. Tim Krul, obvious goalkeeper from Norwich, he's with the national team. He's not playing in the national team, but I think they're relegated. But I think he's done reasonably well from the reports I've seen so far coming from England. You got Silesen, Dutch goalkeeper. He's at Valencia. He was at Barcelona. He's not even playing now. So I think in Holland we've got a slight problem with goalkeepers on the moment. But these things happen. You know, I think Belgium went for a while. You know, they went through a 10-year period that nothing was coming through, and then all of a sudden, all the top players and goalkeepers, you know, came out Belgium years and years ago. So
do you think it's the level of ability, Hans, or do you think there's, when you look at the development of goalkeepers happening in Holland, it was stretching all the way to the KNVB, because they're ultimately responsible to make sure that the clubs are really doing, and they're educating their goalkeeping coaches. What do you think the problem is?
Because that's the thing about on the moment, you know, like if you go to literally every amateur side in Holland, they all have goalkeeping coaches. So any level from in Holland, and that's the Dutch FA. They have courses, goalkeeping courses, so you can get your papers. What the reason is that for that, why the level of goalkeeping in Holland is poor. I can't answer. I can't I can't answer that because everything is there. All the coaches are there, the goalkeepers are there, but on the moment there's nobody who can stand up and say make a name for himself. That's the problem. That's the problem on the moment.
So you look at goalkeepers like yourself. You look at the goalkeepers that mentored you. You look at Evan van der Sar. You look at Martin Skeltenberg. You look at some of Holland have had a lot of great goalkeepers over the years. You know what I mean? If you look at that, do you think the goalkeepers, like when you look at them, do you think they're tough enough mentally when you look at them?
Next times have changed. I think in the past, I've been toughened up, I've roughed up. I must admit, if you go to the academies from where the clubs are, the boys are getting spoiled. I had to get on the push bike every day onto my drive 6 miles and drive 6 miles back. Now they get picked up by minibuses from the station, and so everything is done for them. So and sometimes and we were playing on the street, and things are not there anymore, and I think that's also a big difference than with the past. So I think it's also our own fault, also from the academies, that we're not toughing the kids enough up for the big leagues.
Yeah, and I think I know from speaking to Dave Bess and Roy Carroll, and I was speaking to them about some of the things, and they were even saying the same thing, kind of what kids are, you know what I mean, the things they've been allowed to get away with. And I suppose we have to, but do you not think the parent has to support what the club is doing? But do you not think it's a time of political correctness when you're not allowed to say certain things, and you got to be sensitive to what you say, and you say this, they're gonna, you know what I mean, they're going to not be on the right side with you.
Spot on, and that's the problem, because if you say something negative to a player, he takes it on personally. He's getting negative, and rather than take it on board and do something with it, they think they are attacked. So it's a big difference than in the past. In the past, you just, okay, coach, you take it. But now as a coach, you have to be careful, what you just said, what you say, how you say it, because the times are changing. And I must say, not for the better.
Yeah. And it's so funny when we talk about goalkeepers, because I was watching, I remember when I was speaking to Graham Ricks, obviously him and Glenn Hoddle changed the culture at Chelsea, and they're best, and they're all good friends. Do you know what I mean? You've been on a few golf things with him, and I remember one time when he was with Chelsea, and he had no more substitutions, and the midfielder that was on the field for Chelsea, he replaced him with the substitute goalkeeper. Because he was like so bad. and he turns around and he sent, and this must be around, I don't know, 97, 98, something like that. Yeah. And he turns around and he says to the player, he's telling them off, he says, they had the ball for 15 seconds, and he said, you have not moved. He says, you got replaced by a goalkeeper. I mean, goalkeepers aren't going to get a better compliment than that. And I was joking with him about it, and the player must have been so embarrassed, because they get replaced by a goalkeeper and you're a midfielder. You know what I mean? That's definitely not a good thing. I don't think.
But you see what happens if you analyze the goalkeepers these days.
Yeah,
most goalkeepers, they're like outfield players with gloves on.
Right.
They're so good with their feet, and teams are, expected your goalkeeper that they be, the best passer of the ball. That he could play in midfield. Let's make it that way.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's especially in Holland, because the system they play in Holland is literally. Every goalkeeper has to play from the back. He has to receive it, open it, ask for the ball again. You know, even if he plays it to the left back, he has to move all the way towards his left to be able to receive it again, and even, you know, open to the other side. So so you can see that's a big difference with the past.
Anybody wants to reach out, can they do you use Instagram, do you use Facebook, do you use any type of social media?
I do Facebook.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so that's all I have on the moment. So I'm not very keen.
You don't
on
have time.
Instagram.
You're a bit like me. I'm not a big user of it. You know what I mean? So I can definitely relate to that. And so, like I say, it's been great. It's been great speaking, Hans. And what I would say is pretty much good luck. It's going to be obviously good luck for the season. And
thank you, Nick.
We'll definitely look forward to obviously having you do some goalkeeping clinics. That's where we'd definitely like to see, and obviously talking to goalkeepers where they can where we can maybe possibly arrange that when we're in Holland with groups of the boys from obviously our international academy and stuff like that. So it'll definitely be very helpful. So guys, any comments you want to leave, you can leave them in the section below, and don't forget to hit the notification squad to subscribe for more interesting content from both myself and Hans here at Continental Soccer TV. Have a great day.